Get Into Geek. This is episode 73. We're talking Stargate, SG-1 and Watergate time. My name is Mitch. Joining me, the full Get Into Geek team, we have Matty.
What up?
Brendan.
Hello.
And Rhys.
Yeah, g'day, guys.
What's doing, boys? We are back. Another episode, Season 4, Episode 7, Watergate. We got the Russians, Rhys. You're our first-time watcher. You surprised by this?
Mate, wasn't that just a bloody mind blow after mind blow? The Russians have the gate. I bloody knew it wasn't gone forever.
And
They quickly
we
nicked
were
that in the
skirting
bud.
around it.
And then after seeing the episode, after watching the episode, looking back at the episode name, I'm like, oh, because they found in the water and then it goes to the water planet.
Yeah.
It's not water. But this
And
reminded
also
me...
Nixon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's where
If you
they...
know your political history,
Got it.
American
Yeah.
history.
Yeah,
That's
because
It's a timely
I would.
reference.
Yeah, it's good.
yeah, because I love politics and I'm American, so...
Oh, can we just isolate that audio where Rhys says he loves politics?
Ah.
I tried to put as much sarcasm into it as possible.
It'll never work.
You came full circle.
My
Sounds serious.
sarcasm is too dry. But this reminded me of a good night out for me. You know,
How so?
just the adventure and then, going out and having fun and games and,
Locking someone in a freezer.
going everywhere all the time, getting locked in a freezer
Almost
and
dying
then
in a submarine.
end up spewing up and getting chucked out.
Yeah, good call.
Smelling pie.
Well,
yeah,
that's
that was so random.
normal Tuesday
What's
night.
that smell? Pie. Although, did you notice at the start when the SG-1 were coming in, when the gate didn't dial? Or what did Walter say? Chevron 7 didn't engage. I'm like, no, Walter, it didn't lock.
Well,
But-
it didn't engage to then lock.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Also,
Why'd you bring it up?
well, I didn't. I'm just saying that's the moment. That's the moment I want to talk about.
Funny, because when he said that, I thought Brendan's going to jump on this.
Me too. I'm like, oh, God.
Daniel Jackson. Yeah, well, mention it. Why not? Daniel Jackson
We're here for
says.
40 minutes anyway, so
Daniel Jackson says.
I just want to interrupt. Keep
Yeah,
interrupting him.
wait your
I'm
turn.
just going to
Keep going,
start
mate.
again.
Well, so what did Daniel Jackson say?
He said,
He said. Daniel Jackson said.
oh, get on with it, mate.
What if I could, buddy? It's going to take us 2 weeks to relocate the Ankarans.
Oh, I spotted that too.
And that's the first time I spotted that.
Yeah.
And the Ankarans are actually the race in 2 episodes' time, Scorched Earth.
Right.
Which is a good. I think it was Joseph Malozzi who and his mate Paul
Mully.
who wrote Scorched Earth. So they've probably picked that up, or maybe they've gone, Cooper, chuck this name in because we got our episode in 2 weeks, which I thought was nice because he said they're running out of time.
Last episode they wrote was Window of Opportunity,
Well,
right?
if you were paying attention during the podcast, I would have told you that Scorched Earth was the first episode they wrote, but Window of Opportunity was actually the first episode of theirs that aired.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember the names of
I
the
don't remember
episodes.
what you say
until we do the podcast.
until I listen back.
Until I listen back to the podcast. Then I remember it.
Yeah.
So something I wanted to ask you guys, and it was something that I thought of when Earth's Stargate crashed down in Thor's ship.
Mm.
If it's submerged underwater and someone dials in, would it be a plug hole? Would the water just go straight into it?
Well, they kind of mentioned that in this episode where Carter's theory about water molecules and how the gate
Density, tension.
Yeah, the gate has a countermeasure against
Rhubarb.
things that want to go through and things that don't want to go through. So if someone's dialing in, nothing can go back through anyway.
Yeah.
But if you're dialing out, I suppose there's enough pressure down there to force the water in. So I don't.
But if that's what I mean. If you're dialing in, obviously, as you said, you can't get back out. But because when they sent the mount through, and then it in that 100 days, and it came back and demolished itself, wouldn't that happen to the water? If it's submerged?
But I think what Cooper's written here is that water can't go through
Yeah.
by itself.
Cooper!
Which is kind of interesting because in an episode of Stargate Atlantis that I think Brad Wright wrote called The Shrine, where they go to a planet and it floods, and one of the characters said, we didn't want to dial back because it was going to flood. flood the gate room. So it's kind of
Yeah, and
I
then
think it should.
obviously throughout Stargate history, there's also a lot of Stargates, not ruining anything for Rhys, but there's a lot of Stargates like floating in space.
Yeah.
That when they're opened up, it's not like the vacuum of space is being sucked
Yeah,
through
that's
the
true.
wormhole.
Mate,
into
we're
the
all
other
floating
side.
in space. They're all floating in space.
Across the universe. Waiting for Maddie's contribution here. I'm hoping.
Did you recognize the Russian compound, Rhys?
Oh yeah.
No, but when they were on the outside of it, I thought, damn, I've never been to Russia, but it looks an awful lot like Canada in SG1.
Yeah, with a matte painting of a factory.
Yes.
Just sieged in. No, that set is the Tin Man set. That's the same place
Right.
that your beloved Tin Man was
Right.
filmed. And then, so they were basically up on the top level in this episode,
Yep.
and then in a couple of episodes' time in Scorched Earth, they actually film on the bottom half of that same set.
Oh, okay.
So it's like 3 episodes
in Russia.
Yeah, all in that one set. Apparently, I was listening to the commentary, and there's a moment when, like, I think when the doors first open and you see the gate sort of on for the first time,
Yeah.
the background behind them, like in their reaction, is like where like they were fucking cutting their arms or something like that, and all that sort of stuff, or
Oh, right.
something big happened in
Tin Man.
Tin Man in that exact spot.
Nice. So the whole or water and organisms thing and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
So I think I understand it, but they...
Let me lay it out for you, Rhys.
Thank you. Save me.
It's Robert C. Cooper wrote this.
Say no
So
more.
the way he's pitched it, okay, water bugs, tiny water bugs.
Yeah, that makes more sense now.
Well,
So-
no, it's basically that the ocean is, imagine like a life form just made basically out of water. So it's like they're living in an ocean which is just them in just a big giant orgy of just how they exist. But it's like, well, then you can take a section of that water
It's like
out,
sperm.
and it's yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
okay.
you know there's a being there. So it's like, well,
So
and-
when the
Why does
glass
every-
broke on the submarine, they all got jizzed on.
yeah,
So it's like Bane is like big sperm, and this is like micro sperm.
Microsperm bugs.
Robert, Bubby, you might want to talk to somebody.
Well, it's funny you say that. I was listening to the audio commentary, and they do have just a little bit of a jab at Robert C. Cooper.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this episode was that Robert came to me, I think, at the beginning of the season, actually, and asked. He had said that he had an outline that had been kicking around for a while, and I had been told that it was unproducible. And so he said, "Can you just read this, James, and tell me if it really is unproducible?" And I read it, and it was pretty ambitious, but I didn't see what was unproducible about it. So I said, "Let's do it." And I discovered very quickly why it was unproducible.
Robert Unproducible Cooper.
That's not producible.
Not producible.
I'll keep asking until I find someone that'll
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
It's like a kid. Like, ask mum. It's like, no. Okay. Hey, daddy.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
What did Mum say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the correct
Yeah.
answer for all the dads out there.
She said to ask you.
The show creator said no. He goes, well, I'll go to the visual effects supervisor
Yeah.
and see what they say.
He says you can't do it. What do
Yeah.
you think?
He's like, I could do anything.
Because there was some good CG in this, hey, for the year that it was
Yeah.
in that submarine.
Well, and the whole because basically most of the episode when you see the sub, we're kind of shooting it from the left side of the sub. None of that exists. Like the whole left side of that sub doesn't exist.
Oh, wow.
So when you see when they first like get the big tarp and take it off the submarine,
Yeah.
that's literally all of the submarine. So the stuff that
Right.
the tarp is covering is just open set.
Wow.
So yeah, I think they did a pretty good job with all that.
I
Yeah.
did have a slight issue with the way they took the submarine into the event horizon. Because they had the thing on the hook,
Mm.
and then about an inch of it went in to the wormhole, and then the hook took off.
Just an inch.
Just about 6 inches. Depends how deep you like it.
All right.
It's a deep submarine.
All right, let's say less than a third of the submarine was in the event horizon.
It's a deep depth submarine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deep submarine.
Yeah.
And then the hook detaches, And then the event horizon holds
Holds
up
up
the weight.
the entire weight of the whole submarine.
Didn't it do the same thing with Apophyse's body though? Remember when Teal'c put his body through the?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Didn't it kind of do the same thing?
Yeah, and
And-
I was going to
and
say,
when
But
you
did he
think-
just put his head in and the rest
But
of it?
wouldn't you think Apophyse's body would have drooped? Like
Rigor mortis.
1,000-year-old rigor mortis.
Rick and Morty.
Rigor mortis.
Oh, jeez.
Good news, though.
So it's yeah, absolutely.
70 more episodes for Rick and Morty. Maddie. Wubba lubba dub dub.
Yeah, you, me, Maddie. 70 more episodes. Yeah, you 70 more for
Forever
us.
and ever.
Forever and
Rick
ever
and
us.
Morty.
Oh, maybe
Me and you, Maddie.
Maybe they'll get good.
Mate,
Maybe they'll develop some characters. Maybe. Oh.
we keep telling
Oh,
you.
overrated.
You just need to get an alcohol dependency, and then you'll understand it.
Is that more episodes than they've already produced? in
Yeah,
3
God,
seasons?
Yeah.
yes.
they do, like,
But what are they
pathetic,
season?
like 10 episodes.
10.
A season.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Futurama's doing like 26 when they first rocked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was back in the day, though.
2000.
Yeah, 18 years ago.
Jesus.
But I mean,
They
like,
got cancelled twice and came back each time. So
oh yeah, I'm not. Great show, absolutely a great show.
yeah. Some would
these
say,
days,
some
you
would say
don't.
better than Rick and Morty.
Wow.
Some
I
would.
would.
Some
Yeah.
would. Some wouldn't.
Some would call Rick and Morty a poor man's rip-off of Futurama, but you
Well,
know,
someone would say Family Guy's a poor man's rip-off of Simpsons as well.
yeah, Seth MacFarlane said it first though.
Oh yeah, because someone told him it was. Damn, they're onto me.
Some would say,
Hang on, I should stop ripping off Jim Carrey. Get out, Seth.
so good old Harry Mayborn
He's back.
in the freezer. When they opened the freezer and saw him, I didn't even recognise it was him until they laid him on that
Oh really?
bloody table.
Well, those Russian uniforms are very unflattering.
I think that's what it was. I didn't recognise him out of uniform. When
Why are you wearing pajamas?
in the freezer? They are winter pajamas. But yeah, when I saw him, and then O'Neill goes, "Oh, what do you say, holy bad guys or whatever?"
Holy
frozen.
Holy frozen bad guy. Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, it's just because he's Russian. Obviously, that's the bad guy." But and then obviously it wasn't. It was 'cause he was
Maybe the people who made Origins just watched this episode. Because they do reference the Germans having the DHD in this episode.
Yeah.
And also by
yeah.
Richard Anderson mentioning a Batman. They're like, well, that justifies the spin at the end.
So what you're telling me is they did the sort of research for Origins that Brendan and I did in high school. It's like, have you watched all of... Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah.
totes.
Yeah.
So what do we watch? Oh, we
C minus.
pick out an episode like in the middle somewhere, and we'll get the gist of like what happened before and where
Yeah.
they went after.
It's like when I used to have to do book reports. I'd read the blurb on the back and then read the first and last page of each chapter. And they'd be like, I got the gist
And
of
if
it.
you had time, watch the movie.
Who was the Russian girl? Maddie.
I don't know. Who was she?
I can't remember her name. That's the main reason I asked.
Obviously
Vladimir
Russian. 'cause
Shumshikov.
I mean, that accent was spot on, so she must have actually been Russian.
Yeah.
Her English was excellent.
Counselor Troy from Star Trek: The Next Generation. Rhys.
Yeah, cool.
That's it. I was just saving Maddie. That's the one. That's one.
Well, you tried to make him stumble
Because I
on
couldn't
that.
remember her name. That's why.
Because you left your iPad at home.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring something up because in The Next Generation, she has massive cans. And She doesn't get them out for this. I'm like, we had a niece. They don't have a problem with this in Stargate. Why is she in a parka for the whole bloody...
Because
Yeah.
they're in Russia?
Mate, you're inside. Take it off.
Look, the water just generates heat.
They jumped out of a plane in the snow.
Yes.
Yeah, but once you go
Kids
in
out.
the factory, she's not in the freezer.
Obviously, Brendan hasn't got far enough into the series where she stops getting her cans out.
No.
Yeah, about...
Disappointing.
Well, tell us about your high school days, Maddie.
I just assumed that was not going to get cut out, so that's why I was quiet.
No, it's
I mean,
Good gear.
I don't have great stories like that. I was a student leader and a prefect and a house captain, so.
Oh, we used to beat kids like you up.
House captain.
And I was a drama geek, so.
Nah, just joking. I was sports captain. Vice sports captain.
I was vice as well.
Vice too.
I gave the better speech. I gave.
Assistant to the captain.
There was only supposed to be like a male house captain and a female house captain for each house. But I gave the better speech and got the teacher vote. But then the actual fit dumb guy got the popular vote from the
Classic.
students, so they went, "Oh, we're going to introduce a vice captain into each house as well." So I got the vice captains.
A democracy. Bloody
Yeah.
hell.
You'd be the leader of SG1, I reckon.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that
Diplomacy.
Is that a slam?
That's yeah,
Absolutely it is.
political.
Oh, okay. No, that's the team I want then. I think if we go back to that episode, I probably said that's the team I'd want to
You
be
did, yeah.
on. As long as it's like SG11 or SG14, then I'm fine. 'Cause they're
SG11 die every day.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Hey guys, if you want to hear about SG11 getting killed, tune in next week for the first ones. Now,
Again.
Rhys, we've teased a bit at the giant wrench. Have you actually seen the giant wrench yet?
Oh, I've seen the giant wrench.
Oh, I'm talking about in Stargate though, not in
No.
not in my pants.
Not in my van.
So
no, there was one. There was one. Yeah.
Okay, well this one, if you, I've got a little picture here. If you zoom sort of right in one of the very very opening shots after the credits.
If you have to zoom in that far, it's not giant.
Well,
is
it's well, when you see it when it's almost as big as Sylar is, then it's pretty big. So right after the credits, after they realise that the gate's broken, they got someone fixing it. So Jack is sort of up in the observation room upstairs, and he's looking down, and you can see Major Wood and Sergeant Sylar. So have a look at Sergeant Sylar up on the ladder there, and see what he's holding. That's the spanner. That's the giant spanner.
it? That's f***ing giant.
Yeah, it's like the size of his leg.
Like I said.
Huge. You would have loved Teal'c's reaction to the parachuting.
This is not wise.
Yeah, I'm like Rhys is either gonna like laugh his ass off at that, or he's gonna be offended that Robert C. Cooper made Teal'c afraid of jumping out of a
Yeah.
plane.
That was great.
But it's like the steps they took, and he's like, it's parachute. It'll slow your descent down. He's like, it doesn't look like it suits that purpose. Like, it'll open once you
The
get out.
backpack,
Like,
yeah.
it's not like you just put a bag on and hope for the best. But like,
It's not a jetpack.
That's
but they still never
Yeah.
showed the conversation they had to, like, okay, pull this. If that doesn't work, then pull this. And this is how you sort of, like,
Yeah.
steer yourself down. It was just, trust me, it'll be fine. And the next minute, he's jumping out of a plane or they're pushing him
Yeah.
out. I'm like, I'm assuming you had a conversation, or is he just supposed to work it out on his way
Yeah.
down?
And Teal'c's mum's like, if all your friends jumped out of a plane, would you? Obviously, he would. Indeed.
But yeah, that's what I liked about it, is because it was legit. Like, if you've never seen a parachute before, you're like, this is insane. This will not
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing?
And
then
I think some of the toughest men I know, they like would never skydive. They're like, why would I jump out of a perfectly good plane? Because it's fun. They're like, no,
Yeah.
think about the stupidity of jumping out of a fucking plane.
Yeah.
Like, well, when you say it like that,
All
sure.
the time the Wright brothers spent, developing flights so that we can leave the ground just to jump back out of it.
Yeah.
to fall to it.
On the plane, I understand they as a military unit, they would be flying that giant cargo ship, where into Russia. But it was almost like a bit of a show. Like they could have just flown them over in like a little private jet or something, or commercial, keeping it low key.
Oh,
but
they'd
it's
have
like-
to pay for it, mate.
Yeah, it's like, okay, now we're America, we're
part of
going
the
into
budget.
Russia.
Yeah.
We'll take the biggest fucking ship we got. It's like, how many people you got on that thing? I was only like 4 or 5.
Well, it's funny you say that because you saying, "Oh, we're America, we do what we want." That's literally what they did in real life.
Yeah.
So this is filmed. I've got a bit of audio commentary I can play here. So because obviously we've talked about how SG-1 works with the Australian Air Force. Oh, sorry, with the American Air Force. This American plane was coming back from Alaska and it was flying down to Seattle. It was for the it'll say it in the commentary, but basically they just decided to do a detour into Canada to land there just so they could film with the plane on the ground.
Sick.
They were never supposed to be allowed to actually fly it. But the American captain went, well, we're America. We do what we want. I don't care about Canada airspace rules. So they took the plane up, and then the
I
shot...
don't care about Canada airspace
Yeah.
rules. Holy
It's just
shit.
Canada.
So
Canada.
the actual...
What are they going to do?
They don't-
Sorry.
They don't have an army.
So the plane taking off isn't a stock shot. That's the actual film of the actual plane.
Wow.
And then when they're in the plane and you see sort of the tailgate opening, you see all the open air. That was their second unit actually filming that.
Sick.
So have a listen to this.
It was pretty special that we were able to get access to this plane, wasn't it?
Yeah, what was really special about it is that it let us fly in it. We weren't actually Canadian law wasn't going to allow us to take off and fly around in it, and because he was an American commander in an American plane, he said jump in, and Andy Makita, the second unit director, went up and started shooting out of the back of it. So all the stuff that you see out the back of the plane is actually on this plane with our crew.
And how did it work that it came through? They were flying it down from Alaska to Seattle or something, and they made a sort of a flyby stopover for us specifically?
Yeah, it's actually a California Coast Guard plane, and they said, absolutely, you can use it.
That's pretty cool. I love when the military get involved like that, when it is a show set around the military or, needing that sort of equipment and whatnot, and they get involved. It's like, well, we're going to want to make it as accurate as possible. But hearing that, though, it reminds me of like two movies, one where the military got involved and one where they didn't, and it's very offensive, is that they... If you watch them, and it looks legit, but like the Transformers movies, like you see the army, the bases, all the equipment they use, that's because the military said, yeah, whatever you want, we can give you to make it look as legit as possible. The Avengers, though, when all those army guys rock up in the Battle of New York and they show a lot of other military shit going on, that's all faked stuff because the military didn't want to get involved because it was too far-fetched. They said, we're not getting involved in that. That sounds
Classic.
ridiculous. It's like, what about Transformers 3? Oh, no, yeah, sign us up for that.
And yet Trump's president.
Yeah. And they went,
Just because Transformers 1 was basically a recruiting video.
Yeah.
It was basically what
Yeah,
all that
I want to join.
All that stuff in Qatar was just a recruitment video. Military. Hey, something you may not have known, Rhys, and I think it's in. You might be able to watch now that you've got the DVDs. You might be able to watch it in the special features. But Kurt Russell, the OG O'Neill,
G. O'Neill.
actually visited the set while they were filming this episode.
Oh, is it this one?
Yeah.
Right.
Dressed as Elvis.
Classic.
Because he was at
yeah.
the same studios filming 3,000 Miles to Graceland.
Right, never
And he's
seen
like,
it.
hey, remember that movie that I started this whole fucking thing? So he's just like,
Yeah.
walked on
Yeah.
the set.
Is that still going? That thing?
Am I making any
I
money
gotta-
off this?
He's like, wait, are you
Clip for
now?
that.
Have you now accumulated more money than I have for the film?
yeah.
You bastard!
I better be getting royalties for this.
Damn you, MacGyver!
It was so popular that it actually made the news.
Oh, really?
What?
Yeah.
What's that?
Kurt
The
Russell.
Kurt Russell appearance
Oh,
on
really?
SG1. I got a clip here. And this is probably the
He
worst.
wasn't on an episode, was he?
No, he just
Right.
visited
No,
the set.
it's-
Apparently, they wanted him to guest star, but he's like, obviously not.
Yeah, and I think his kids were fans or something, and so that's why he
Right.
took his kids with him onto the set.
Now, this is horrible early 2000s news reporting, and all right, I'll leave it at that. You'll know why.
Back to the Future as Elvis hooks up with some intergalactic travelers. Call it a time warp. Elvis Presley in outer space. That's no Elvis Presley. It's Kurt Russell, dolled up like Elvis on the set of Stargate SG-1. The popular TV series was sparked by the hit 1994 movie, which starred Kurt, of course. Kurt quizzed Richard Dean Anderson, star of the current series, about a key prop, the Stargate.
Where's the original?
Actually, the original.
It's in the desert?
We
We
couldn't
don't use the
find
real
it.
one.
We only had pieces.
Yours is better. I don't think ours was quite as cool. Yeah.
Kurt's
what
filming
she
a
said.
movie near the Stargate set in which he plays an Elvis impersonator. The movie 3,000 Miles to Graceland is about a group of ex-cons who plan a heist during an Elvis convention. Kurt starred as the king in the 1979 made-for-TV movie Elvis.
He looked a little like Elvis. Again. And you know what? He's got the strongest hair I've ever seen. Did you notice that? Strong hair. It's all his, and it just, who can do that?
Well,
But I
Kurt-
just love that's Rick's gear with Kurt Russell. That's all he's got. Oh, the hair,
Yeah.
Strong hair.
strong hair. My hair could never stand up to look like that.
Do you know what's really odd? Is like we're in 28. This was done in like 2000. We're in 2018 now. If you turn on like America's like ET Entertainment Tonight, it still sounds exactly like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Just people just talking about something they have no interest in because there's quote unquote celebrities in it.
So what I was trying to get to before, where Brendan just said Cooper, that's why. I didn't get why everyone got shot in the base.
Because they were fighting, I believe.
Yeah, so the
Yeah, no, I get that.
The water the water thing had taken over somebody.
Yeah.
And all it was trying to do was get back through the Stargate.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was like taking people out
And
to
it was
try
kind
and,
of like,
try and get there.
you know, the
Right.
admin guy trying to come in and dial the gate at SGC. Walter's going to stop them, right?
Yeah.
Back up. I'm Walter.
Yeah. Shoot you.
Because
with
then
my
even
cardigan.
when
Get the Spaz 12 out.
when Teal'c gets taken over, you see how aggressive he is kind of straight away. So obviously, whatever the life form was just like fed up to the back teeth of like being taken. Because they do say right at the end, it's like, oh, that was pretty much a prisoner exchange.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it was just like, it was just like fed up and was trying to
Just get back.
get home.
So just kill everyone to get back, basically.
Yeah, well, I think
so
it's
that war, or let's call it the water that was in Maybourne, was the only water that was on Earth, right?
Yeah, I feel
From
like
that
it
planet.
was might have been jumping from person
The only
to
one
person.
left, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it kind of like
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
they'd vomited up, which was to me that was the one real main detractor of this episode was the terrible way they shot the vomiting up.
Yeah.
But it's like once they'd vomited up, it would kind of aspirate and become airborne, and then was able to just like jump into anyone really.
Well, I guess that makes sense.
Don't worry, you never see him again, so you don't have to put too much thought into it. It's fine.
Yeah. I just didn't know why they had to get shot. Like, fair enough if they all ran in and drowned. That would have been pretty cool. And then Maybourne was the only one left. That would have been pretty sweet, but...
Yeah, I think
Well,
the
they
ones
were-
that were drowned are obviously the ones that went through.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. Cooper!
There was there's a bit of trivia for the opening scene. Apparently, to date, the opening scene has more references to previous episodes than any other episode we've seen so far. Like when they can't get the gate working,
Right.
they reference what happened in Solitudes, what happened in Shades of Grey, what happened in what was one of the other ones involving the second gate, Touchstone. They kind of referenced all these other things.
Was,
Yeah, right.
What was it? Nemesis?
Yeah, references Nemesis, obviously. Yes, which I thought was kind of cool in that sort of world building, and it's like you kind of, it's almost like the MCU. It's like you see these other things, and they help you see what the latest thing is.
Layered.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting.
It's one of the best like pre-credit stingers, I reckon. Just that line of Daniel going, "The Russians have a Stargate." Zhoof. Like
Yeah.
that's a really cool throw. Like I was imagining being Rhys watching that for the first time. It's like, fuck, what? Like especially this time in the world, like 2000 and all that. So I mean, if they would have done it now or two, it'd be it'd be fun.
I would have had more of an impact had I not have listened to next time on Stargate SG-1.
Yeah.
The Russians have us.
You're right.
Now there was
Not to
some,
spoil anything for you, but here's next week on SG1.
The Russians.
there was a bit of audio we played in our our pre-Origins breakdown back when we were still semi-interested. The one that Rhys, the one
Back
that,
when we thought they could save it.
yeah. Back when we were silly enough to give them the benefit of the doubt. That was one that Rhys wasn't here for, and we've kind of forbidden him to listen to it because we got pretty spoiler deep into it. But now we can actually talk about one of the things that we referenced in it.
How did you activate?
We have a dialing device.
DHD. You found the one from Giza.
It was confiscated from the Germans after the Second World War.
Yeah, wasn't that interesting?
So, well, go interesting, but
You could write a whole prequel based on
yeah,
that
you
line.
You could write 10
Probably not.
minute episodes based on
I
that and
think
be
Not a
really
good one.
successful.
I don't think writing a whole prequel would be great. That's not interesting. But the interesting thing is that the Germans had it.
Yeah. Basically that's the little nugget of information they took to sort of
And they
expand
fucking
on that.
ran with it.
Yeah, they really, really went with it.
Like to the point where Nazis go off world.
Yeah, to the point where it's never really referenced. Like I don't know that do we ever get to see the? Oh no, that gate does come back at some point. Sorry, that DHD does come back at one point, I think.
Yeah, it does. In
Yeah.
48 hours.
Yeah, I can just never remember.
Not in 48 hours' time, but the episode 48 hours.
What do you think they've been doing with that thing for 55 years?
Just pressing buttons.
Like they get it during World War II. Obviously, does nothing for nothing except the gate.
Yeah.
And they went, just hold on to it just in case. Like, why wasn't that another artifact that's just like, well, we don't really care whether that gets lost. And then when they find the gate, I guess once they narrow up the symbols, but if that DHD hasn't been lying around visible for decades, why would they go, hey, pull out that other thing we've been holding on, because that'll probably work with this other thing we don't know what does.
I guess Mayborn.
Do you know what they
yeah, Mayborn.
What they could have done with
is
it?
he just obsessed with the gate as like Hammond is with the self-destruct? Like,
Pretty
it
much.
doesn't matter who. He's like, oh, an American agency. Well, we don't want you. Okay, rogue American agency. Didn't work out so well. F it. I'm going to Russia. I just need to use the gate. Have a thing about the gate. Get me a world. I'm like, God, oh, shit.
This wants to be significant, old
Yeah.
Mayborn.
He doesn't have a great track record with it, does he? Though?
No.
Well, the Germans didn't have a gate, did they?
No, so that they had the DHD that belonged to our gate, the one that was found in the movie.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously in Solitudes was when we discovered the second gate down in Antarctica with that DHD. So there's 2 gates and 2 DHDs on
Right,
Earth.
okay.
Yeah.
And that Russian chick was talking about the Russian Stargate overrides the American Stargate.
Because the
DHD
is
connected.
Yeah.
At the start of the sentence, I thought she was starting to say like it predates it. Well, no, hang on. Our one that we've got now is the older of the two. Yes.
Yeah, it's the one from Antarctica.
But then, it makes sense
So,
because they got the DHD.
How do they connect the DHD?
Yeah, still don't know.
HDMI cable.
Right.
Yeah.
No, they just
Bluetooth.
they flip up the little red thing and go Bluetooth on, Bluetooth off, and it disconnects. Yeah.
And it doesn't fucking connect. Fucking hell.
Walter, can you come and help us here?
Not share contacts. Everyone. Share everyone. Right. There we go.
No, don't sync to the cloud.
Oh, I know. I'm going to be here for ages.
Now all the Stargates in the world are going to open.
Yeah, but I mean, it goes back to kind of what we were saying last week with window opportunity, just like the convenience, but the luck, I guess, of SG-1 about to go on that, or going on that mission to that planet when that guy decided to start doing the loop. And had they not have done that and been there, we would have been stuck in the loop forever until old mate and window of opportunity decided to go, you know what, I can't save my wife. I'll stop this loop now. If he ever did that.
Yeah.
You know, he could have just, like, God, he could have offed himself and just let that loop just keep going. We would have been none the wiser. And like this, like we might have eventually found out that the Russians were using it. I mean, obviously now this is that time. But just the idea, it's like, and I know that we can feel this way if when I say we, if like we or a member of the SGC can go, well, hang on, we're the responsible users. But it's like we've also had a lot of experience. You guys have just jumped straight into just doing stuff, doing missions, doing research. It's like, we should really share, like, or just leave it up to us. You know, if we need you to do something, if we need you to be our second unit, we'll ask you. We don't need to know that you guys are just off doing your own thing, possibly starting wars.
But I like her basis of it though, because I mean, ultimately that's how SG-1 or SGC started.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, let's chuck a team together and go through.
Yeah. I think the main thing is basically you can't really have. It's like you're not meant to have 2 Stargates on a planet the way that and that was the main thing. It's like it's like, you know, back when you're growing up and there's 2 phones in the house, one in the living room, one in your parents' bedroom. And it's like, well, if you're on one and your brother or sister goes and picks up the other end, it's like, no, get off the phone, I'm on it.
Yeah.
I can hear you breathing. Hang up. Like that's, you know.
Yeah.
Kids, that's what's called a landline.
I just like the idea though that they were so sneaky with it that she said it would only override your gate when we hooked up the DHD, and it was perfect timing. Obviously, they said to their teams, it'll go off world, and I mean, just their luck that they didn't get attacked and have to dial back in an emergency. But it's like, dial it off and come back in exactly 12 and a half hours, and that's when we'll hook the DHD up so that you come here and not to America or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then they come through, switch it off so that the SGC are none the wiser. Meanwhile, they know everything about what's going on. They know what Teal'c had for breakfast yesterday.
Bloody hairy Mayborn.
Which means somebody's got to be like leaking information to Mayborn. Like, there's got to be somebody like in the SGC. Like,
well, he always knew, didn't he? He's that sneaky little snake.
But it's like he's not going to know. Like, now that he's out of the American military, he's not going to know like our schedule of when we're going to be going off world. So he's got to be getting that sort of up-to-date information from somewhere. And it's like by the time it goes to like the Pentagon and stuff, and if he's got contacts there, well, it's too late. I don't feel like, you know, Hammond is like submitting proposals going, well, here's our schedule that we'd like to do for next week if someone can sign off on
here's
that.
the
That'd
event
be
order
great.
for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Next quarter's events.
So I feel like, they never really touch on it, but I think somebody's got to be feeding information to Mayborn so that he can then feed that information to the Russians.
Or they've just coincidentally chucked it on, dialed out, taken it off.
Well, there was a little bit of a timeline hiccup here as well, I noticed.
I was first contacted shortly after Russian satellites picked up what we believe was an alien spaceship entering the atmosphere.
Alien spaceship, huh?
About 2 months ago. It disintegrated during entry and crashed in the Pacific.
So she's saying Nemesis took place
2 months
2 months ago.
Right.
But then window of opportunity, there was like 3 months in there. But I'm assuming then that must have affected like the whole planet of us. So they were kind of stuck in that loop.
It affected the whole universe, mate.
It affected the 5 or whatever 12 gates that were in that system.
Yeah, so I'm just curious. Like my mind is going to like, I wonder during that time had the Russians sent a team off world, were they stuck and outside those 12 bubble in the same way that Toka couldn't contact us for 3 months?
Right.
Was there a Russian team out there somewhere that couldn't dial back for 3 months or whatever?
Imagine if she'd asked a question like that. It's like, what
That
happened?
would have been so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if they dialed back in, they were outside of that loop, dialed back in, and then got caught in the loop.
And then then that way they'd never know.
Yeah.
But it's almost like there's a part of me that wants to know,
Yeah.
but it's like for the SGC's sake, it's probably better the Russians don't know that happened, that they were in a time loop for 3 months.
Yeah, it's like, you guys could be responsible if you have a gate. We had the entire solar system stuck in a time loop for months. And this guy was playing golf.
But Jack definitely wasn't giving them anything. Like, he was not going to give up any info.
How many people does that thing hold?
3.
Oh, dang. I've never been in a submarine before.
And they all just look at each other,
That's
just
so
share
good.
looks.
I didn't even pick up on that until it goes to Carter and she like looks at him and I'm like, oh yeah, because the Russian saw
And the Russian chick's like, are we still doing this? The whole pretending like we don't know what each other are talking about.
The only way it could have been more on the nose is if Jack had gone, I've never been in a Russian submarine before. And then she could have done actually it's Swiss. And it's like,
yeah, that was one of my favourite quotes of that episode, actually.
Now, I was wondering, maybe you can ask Craig this question, Maddie, our military expert.
Yeah. I mean, if you'd let me know beforehand, I could have gotten an answer, but no, keep going.
I only watched it last night. So, as the commanding officer, wouldn't Jack have to go through the gate? Have to go through in the sub and be like, Daniel, I don't care about your archaeology bullshit or...
Oh, no. I mean, in an off-the-books Black Hawk mission to Russia about a classified project, I mean, how much by-the-book stuff are they doing, I guess?
Good. Part of being...
In normal circumstances.
Part of being a good leader is sending the best team for the job. What was Jack going to do?
And then...
I don't know. I'm just asking.
Well, it's like Carter was obviously the best person to go.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, if he went, who's in command on the base? Like...
Yeah, that's true.
Who's he going to go?
Obviously, Teal'c.
Well, but then you've got
He's always in command.
You've got an alien and a civilian.
Yeah, that's true.
Teal'c, who's obviously
Russia.
It's his first time to Russia. It's one of his first.
I guess,
It's one of the only times off base on Earth.
Yeah.
So he's
Daniel
just
loves climbing into alien sperm. We know that.
Yeah. What is a Russia?
Alien water sperm.
Yeah. Good luck for them getting back, eh?
Yeah. And I think maybe subconsciously as well, it's like Jack doesn't trust the Russians.
Yeah.
He didn't want to put himself in a situation where he's reliant on them.
Actually,
so it's like,
just thinking about it now, kind of when she goes over and out and terminates the radio, he goes, "All right, Teal'c, let's go have a look around." I was like,
he just
okay.
wanted,
Maybe that's
maybe
right.
you thought
Let's
about
go find
that
some
before
weapons.
Let's go.
I mean, maybe if you thought about that before you asked the question, but no, that's all right.
Oh, it's all good, mate.
Just the way that when they introduced each other and, she's like, oh, so you're Dr. Carter, I'm, massive fan of your research and whatever bullshit accent it was.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, well, it was awful, so it was pretty good. And then he's like, Jack O'Neill, and she's like, yes. And you must be Teal'c and Doc. And I'm like, whoa, hey, you just met. I get that you've got all the papers on him, but don't believe everything Mayborn's been telling
Is
him.
he always like this? This is actually quite charming.
Yeah, that was good.
All right.
Don't get me wrong, I'm still in love with him.
I didn't want to give
Carter loves this shit.
I didn't want to give Brendan the satisfaction before, but now that you've mentioned her again,
Why is it my satisfaction? Like, I didn't bring this up.
Oh,
the intro's back.
Oh, intro.
well done, Mitch. Well Hold on. At least you've got it today. That's
The
good.
computies are working this week.
Computer says yes. All right, we've got to talk about it. I can't not talk about it. So here I am.
Here we go.
We're not filming today. All right,
Here we
that's
go.
good.
Oh yeah, we should have.
All right, now too late.
Well,
Well, this
better,
one's
so
got
we can
highlighter
put it
on
on Patreon.
This one's from Holly from Lonnie.
Hey.
Oh, hang on, film this shit.
Okay, we're gonna pause. Okay, we're filming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just go.
The only Jesus, she's hit it hard. Wow, like straight up. The only thing better than being blown by Brendan while rewatching First Commandment would be to find out Zack Snyder got the rights to remake Firefly as a prequel.
Ah, there's so many levels to that, Holly.
Wow.
I love that one. That's
I'm good
one
at
of the
head.
best. I assume I would be.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
That's.
what-
I actually don't know what the worst part of that is. I'm still.
Obviously not the blowjob.
No, obviously not.
I mean, even the worst blowjob's still a blowjob, right?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
I mean, you'd have to shave first, but
Well,
You think that?
extra sensation. So,
It's all about coverage with Brendan.
I was going to leave that for next week, but what did Peter DeLuise say about Teal'c's chin? The taint tickler?
the taint tickler. That's next week's episode.
Yeah.
I used to like you, Holly.
I think I like you more now.
Yeah,
Holly.
absolutely I do.
All right, so we've got to address the elephant in the room. Marina Sirtis, not that she's an elephant.
Oh yeah, that's right. Star Trek. Ugh. All right.
I forget we have to do this.
Yeah,
I feel like it's just a bit of levity for us every
it's
episode.
totally worth it until you start talking about Star Trek.
Maybe you should talk about Star Trek, then do the box of shame.
That's fine. If you want
It's
to do it
like
that way, that's fine.
It's like
Yeah.
a cleansing.
Yeah,
that's
I like
fine.
that.
Okay, we'll
What
do
about
that.
one before and one after?
Bookend it.
I literally just said stuff about Brendan blowing me, rewatching First Commandments, and Zack Snyder raping my beloved Firefly, and prequels. That wasn't enough for you? You want me to do another one afterwards as
Yes,
well?
please.
Absolutely.
You people are sick.
Also, I didn't know you felt that way about Firefly. Knew you felt that way about Brendan.
It's funny that it's a Robert C. Cooper episode, too.
Oh,
So
First
it's
Commandment.
First Commandment.
Yeah. Nice one.
Like I said, layered. She thought about that.
Yeah, that's...
Brilliant.
That's great journalism.
There's a lot of there's a lot of info packed into
Yeah,
two
like
sentences.
That's heavy. That's heavy. So just because Mitch brought it up, Marina Sirtis, with her accent, she's actually quite like Cockney English when she talks. She's actually
Really?
quite rough. Like when
Yeah.
she does convention, she's like, oh, she's talking about Patrick Stewart, and she likes to call him. She goes, oh, so I was talking to old Baldy, and then she goes, oh, sorry, Sir Old Baldy, and then she'll go off and tell her story about Patrick Stewart.
She's
So-
pretty loose. So
She is. She's very, very
Respect.
loose.
Who's this? The Russian chick.
The Russian chick, yeah.
Right.
So,
She's not actually Russian.
right?
I thought she was European. Obviously not.
Well, she is. She's English, mate.
Nah, Brexit.
Well done. Well done.
Bazinga.
So yeah, she is the first lady of Star Trek. Basically, what I wanted to reference was a conversation that we've had in the past about the J.J. Abrams movies. And one of the reasons why I hate them so much is that they snub Marina Sirtis. So
How so?
Well, okay, so Next Generation was the last show created by Gene Roddenberry before he died. Like he died midway through Next Generation, so he had nothing to do.
okay.
He had nothing to do with DS9, Voyager, or any ones after that.
Time's running out, mate.
I'm trying to talk fast.
That's why I'm trying to extend it so we get another box of shame.
So, well, you guys didn't start a timer. That's your own fault.
I did. I'm looking at the clock. You got 30 seconds left.
Gene Roddenberry's real world wife, Majel Barrett Roddenberry. She's the voice of all the Star Trek computers. Like whenever they say computer and there's a little female voice, it's his.
I thought that was Siri.
Shut up. This is my time.
Cortana.
But then she also in Next Generation played Marina Sirtis' mother in the show.
10 seconds left.
Shut up! I'm trying to tell a story.
You're wasting time.
If you'd stop fucking interrupting me.
Get it out, mate.
Oh, you.
2.
So that's
One.
Gene Roddenberry's wife.
Yeah, so that's Gene Roddenberry's wife is.
No, we're out of time, mate.
Shut the up!
We're done.
I just said I'd blow your brother, so shut up!
Hey, it's just got to do with you two, mate.
I'm trying to tell a fucking story!
I think Rhys is upset it didn't have his name in there.
Oh, that's what it is. It's jealousy. Yes, Rhys, I'll blow you too, but we don't have to watch First Commandment.
No, he has to
It's
blow
fine.
you.
What I'm saying.
Oh shit!
right.
Brendan's like, has to be fair.
Freudian slip. Anyway, let me get this out.
If you want to say more things, you got to read one more from the box.
Just let me get this out. I'm almost done, and then
Mate,
we
you
can
took
move
way
on.
too long. Your time is up.
Shut up!
You're going to have to do a box of shame after this.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys had let me fucking finish my story, I will.
Stargate podcast this is what we do. It's like you don't know us.
You're surprised. Go on, get on with your fucking story.
I actually don't care anymore.
Aw,
I
Come
care.
on, mate.
I care.
I do.
Brendan's seen Star Trek.
You
he
know,
cares.
You care, Mitch? What was he talking about?
The
You're over there
chick-
cleaning a fucking mouse, Mitchell.
with a pen.
You're cleaning the underside of a mouse with a pen.
It's very dusty.
So f*** you.
Whoa!
And it's
Whoa!
It's
Here I am. I'm the only one that hasn't said anything this entire time.
It's the body language.
Every other F-bomb you said was projected at the room. I'm the only one that's got it individually pronounced. You.
it's not even a mouse
And
with a
I'm-
ball underneath it, and you're cleaning the underside of it.
It doesn't matter. I'm listening.
There's a sex joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. I'm interested. I am actually interested.
Come on, mate. Get
Come
on
on,
with it.
buddy.
I'm done.
I always try to change Siri. I go, Siri. She's like, yeah, what's up? And I'm like, can I call
Can you be less bogan, please?
Can I call you computer? Like Star Trek.
Yeah, no,
and
I
she's
get it.
like, nah. I'm like, f you. Oh, you can change my name, but I can't change yours.
Well, here's the problem.
That's
You're
some bullshit.
You're saying, can I call you computer? Just say, Siri, from now on, I'm going to call you computer.
Yeah, she goes, nah, can't do it. Sorry, bud.
Computer says no.
Sorry, bud.
Imagine
Siri
she
calls you
did
bud.
that. She's like, can I call you computer? And then she said, computer says no. Like, I don't know how to take that.
So
This
good.
is- My mind is blowing.
So what's the deal? Where are you going with this, Maddie?
Oh, it's gone.
Oh,
Is this for effect, or are you actually pissed off?
I'm not pissed off. It's just it's just too hard to get back into the story now. You guys move on.
you know I'm watching Star Trek for you, so
Yeah, and I will watch it
Well,
for
stop
you one day.
interrupting him, Brendan.
sorry, bud.
I've never been so glad to have sisters in my life.
Overrated.
Well, just not creative enough, sisters. Obviously.
Oh no, they're just bitches. It's fine.
Alright, we're
I'm
done.
interested. Tell me. Hurry up.
Okay, I'll do it really quickly. I don't actually care anymore. So when Majel Roddenberry died, which was midway
Major?
through... Majel? Her first name is Majel.
Oh, sorry.
If you were listening.
No, I'm not.
Majel Barrett Roddenberry passed away, I think, in between the first and the second of the JJ reboot films. And all the fans called for the fact that Marina Sirtis plays her daughter in Star Trek. They said, well, it was only fitting and a wonderful tribute to the Roddenberrys is that they should have got Marina Sirtis to voice the computers in the second two J.J. Abrams films. And they went, no. Which I think is just a middle finger to, you know, the entire 50-year legacy of Star Trek that J.J. Abrams was trying to do. And it's one of the reasons why I hate his movies so much. Aside from the fact that they're shit house.
It's on top of the fact that they're no good.
Aside from the fact that Into Darkness was just this audition to do Star Wars.
So, I looked this up on the fandom wiki, and the only reason I want to bring it up is because I'm glad to see I'm not the only one that thought this. Now, before you play me Frozen, I just wanted to say it.
Oh my god, are you still on about this shit?
But I was just surprised that it wasn't just me. So this is the goof on the wiki page. At the start of the episode, when the Stargate fails to lock in the point of origin, it shows the triangle instead of the circle with the line under it. The Alpha Gate with the triangle should be the one Russians have, and the SGC gate should be the Beta Gate, circle with the line under it. Since SG-1 teleported the Alpha Gate, blah, blah, blah.
Let it go.
This is a frequent error in Season 4 and 5, and there are only one Stargate prop with the triangle symbol, which had a rotating ring.
the words.
Yeah. So what's your point?
Cooper never bothered me anyway.
What is your point that you're trying to get at?
He still
Well, like
thinks,
I said at the start of that,
They've got the wrong gate.
he still thinks that the circle with the underline is the point of origin on the Antarctic Gate.
yeah, I'm not the only one. That's the point.
Yeah,
the point I was
there's,
making.
there's a lot of fandom out there that
Yeah.
think that, but we never see that symbol on our Stargate because even though we were using the Antarctic Stargate now,
No, and if you weren't seeing
since
Frozen, you would have heard me
Nemesis-
just say because it's a single same prop.
Yeah, exactly.
If you weren't listening.
Yeah.
That's
No,
fine.
I was too busy just singing. That's
It's a catchy song.
yeah.
No, it's
I don't have
terrible.
kids, so I obviously haven't heard it as many times as you guys have. So
I
I'm.
prefer the Anna songs, to be honest.
I'm all about Moana, to be totally honest myself.
Yeah.
I'm a natural phenomenon.
Yeah, no, I.
Rhys is just obsessed with The Rock that much. He
Absolutely.
watches Moana.
Nothing
The
wrong
Rock
with
and
that.
Teal'c. Yeah.
Oh my god!
Oh, I
Oh,
understand
wow!
too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I've been playing
movie
God
or
of
porn?
War. That's a good fucking game.
Is it?
It's epic. It's like high fantasy, and Christopher Judge's voice is like every time he speaks, it's just instant orgasm.
Instant.
If you
Stargate, water bug sperm in my pants.
this
If it was that good,
Bane,
it'd be
Bane.
well, I
Sprog.
was going to say, if it was that good, it would have been Bane size.
If you want to watch
Out of my pants.
an X-Men cartoon show from the 2000s, I think it came out in like 2001 or something like that. Chris Judge actually voices Magneto in it. And
Oh, yeah.
that's
Oh,
really
right.
and he's really menacing and really epic in that. They don't even have to affect his voice, but there's just this natural, just sort of vibrato like
Yeah,
underneath.
nice.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah, so I can highly recommend God of War. It's freaking sweet.
I know, Brendan. I did play earlier for you a little bit of stuff making fun of Robert C. Cooper, but I thought just in the sake of just giving an even kind of
Oh, I'm all about that. Yeah, absolutely.
Just Martin Wood did have some other things to say about Robert Cooper.
We have no clue how this happened. They have no clue. The audience has no clue. And I really like that kind of writing style, and I think Robert does it very, very well.
Clueless
Robert
writing.
Cooper he really understands how to suck an audience in sometimes. And in this one, what he's done is he hasn't given us any clues. So the audience isn't any further ahead than the people who are actually doing it. We haven't cut away to anything. We haven't seen anything that they haven't seen. And, when you go to direct something like this, you have to stay in that with them. You can't give away anything.
It's not the idea that he goes up to Robert. He's like, Robert, love the episode, love the script.
Unproducible, but
thanks. I love how you don't give any clues away, like you don't give any backstory or anything, like so we're all it's all mysterious. Thanks. So tell me though, like as a director, what is the backstory? I don't know.
I'm not sure. That's why I didn't write one.
okay, water bugs.
Apparently,
Oh yeah, there's a backstory. Yeah, there's it's an underground city. You can see buildings in the background of the water. Boom. That's the backstory.
apparently Robert Cooper does have a saying when it comes to episodes directed by Martin Wood, and his saying is money plus Martin equals cool. That's another great line written by Robert C. Cooper.
No, good.
Absolutely.
He's just like, you know what?
You
I'll
put-
have a shit script.
It's like-
I'll throw a bunch of
Quote
money
of the
at
day.
it and give it to Martin Wood, and he'll make it. He'll make it good.
I could just see around the set, like it's just high school shit. He's going around the set of SG1, writing on walls. R.C. Cooper was ear.
Yeah.
I
For a good time.
I don't
Being
really-
here on Feb 22.
I usually skip this episode. It's not one I go back to. I don't really enjoy it. I find it a little bit slow. If you rewatch it a couple of times, it's like, yeah, whatever. Maybon's there. Water, hey, he's going to vomit. Whatever.
Yeah, there wasn't much that happened, really.
I enjoyed it this time, I think, because it's been so long since I watched it, because I do
me
normally
too.
skip it. Like, it's just...
Well, I mean, you got upgrades and window of opportunity, and then the first one's kind of bookending it.
That's it,
Gets
exactly.
lost a bit.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the ones for me that I do remember more than others because of, I guess, the fact that it is Russia and second Stargate and, Water Planet. Like, it's just so...
Yeah.
The things here are definitely unique compared to some of the other ones. And so, I don't even... I've probably only seen it once or twice, I reckon, in like 20 years. But it does sort of stick out for those reasons. But,
The one you skip.
one I skip, yeah.
There's a few of them so far.
So, I liked that, how you mentioned the Seattle one, because that's kind of like Seth. Seth was in Seattle, wasn't it?
What's the other one?
How the plane came down from Seattle or some shit.
That was in real world, though.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Seth
just thought-
wasn't shot in Seattle, though. It was still shot in Vancouver, wasn't it? I think it was just
Yeah, it was set in Seattle,
Yeah.
yeah. Just made me think of Frasier again. That's all.
Do-do-do.
Baby, I hear the blues are calling. Toss
Oh.
salads and scrambled
For a
eggs.
second, I thought you were talking about
Oh,
Janet,
my.
Janet Fraser for a second.
Maybe
I'm
I
like,
seem
what
a
has she
bit
got to do with
confused.
it?
Yeah,
Well,
maybe.
maybe. But I got you, Peg. Well, I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs.
You talking scrambled
Oh,
eggs
yeah.
with Matt Meyer and...
Good night, Seattle. I love you.
All right, that's episode 73 of Get Into Gate. Watergate. Get into Watergate. We'll be back next week to talk the first ones. Before then, though, let's check in with what's going on the next Stargate SG-1.
Close your ears, Rhys.
Yeah.
I'll listen back to the podcast.
I've only just realised after about 2 months, these might be spoiling shit for you.
On the next Stargate SG-1.
Daniel Jackson has been dragged off by a creature called an Unas.
That's a huge
It's a
spoiler.
search and rescue.
That is a huge spoiler.
When a predator strikes without warning, Colonel O'Neill vows to save his partner at any cost.
Can you track it?
Indeed.
Let's move out.
But more than one enemy lies in wait.
Lower your weapons. One or more of you may have become host to a Goa'uld.
Holy shit.
Now, no one is safe.
Spoiler.
There's no hope of escape.
I think I've just been marked for death.
And one false step could turn them all into sacrificial
One false
prey.
step.
Richard Dean Anderson stars on the next Stargate SG-1.
I love that we've been doing these for how long, and you guys have just realised how spoiler heavy they are. Like that's the reason why I started us playing them, is because like it's so bizarre that obviously these weren't made just for the DVD. These must have been like TV spots, like promos. So the fact that they were just giving up the entire episode
Yeah.
prior to the episode coming on TV. Imagine if they did that with like Game of Thrones. Imagine if they did like for the next episode of Game of Thrones, they showed that much of the episode and what was going to happen next. People would lose their minds.
Well, I do remember a lot of shows. I can't remember one specifically, but every time they go next week, and a lot on Channel 7, they would spoil the shit out of the next week.
Well, it was back when like you couldn't get stuff on demand, and
Yeah,
you
that's
know
true.
you're still on VHS, not DVD, and that sort of stuff. So it's
You'll
like
forget in a week.
if you didn't watch it when it was on TV that week,
Yeah.
you
You had to
wouldn't
wait
see
for
it. Right?
reruns,
So it
yeah.
was like the channels were like, we have to show you all the best bits so that you'll tune in next week.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, we want you to watch this.
Yeah, you're right. And I think, too, that, like you said, with our Channel 7 spoiling shows, like at one stage they had 3 of the biggest shows in the world that were really built on cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Because you
I think it
had...
might have been Heroes. The early few
that
seasons.
too.
Yeah.
Heroes, even before that, you had 24.
Prison Break.
Well, Prison Break.
Yeah.
So there's 5. Alias and Lost. So, it was like, this massive cliffhanger. But here's what happens.
Home and Away.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that was a spoiler 5 nights a week, you know. Jesus, couldn't handle that.
Spoiler alert, Jeff leaves.
No!
No!
Come back, Jeff. He's still out there somewhere doing his missionary work.
Missionary
Yeah.
style.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna
obviously.
say, obviously.
Good position
Yeah.
to be in.
Started a good Catholic boy. He tapped off the tail on the beach, had to go elsewhere. Okay, until the next Stargate SG-1, you can check out all of our old podcasts on our podcasting channel. Search Get Into Gate, a Stargate podcast. If you want to drop us a line, getintogate@gmail.com, or hit us up on the socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Again, search Get Into Gate, a Stargate podcast. Myself, Mitch_Lewis on Twitter and Instagram. Maddie?
At High Pitch Maddie on Instagram and Twitter. And I just want to say, someone's finally slipped into my DMs on Twitter.
Yeah, buddy.
Who was it?
It was Bobby.
Oh,
Bobby
classic
Reedy.
Yeah,
He told you he was going to pop
Hey,
that
you got-
cherry.
I'm glad he was my first.
Little bromance going on here.
Bobby.
Brendan, where you at?
The accent.
I'm at the Bren Gibson on Twitter and Instagram. Actually, Matt Cormack DM'd me, so that felt good.
Oh, everyone loves a DM, mate.
On
You-
Instagram.
Another bromance.
And by that I mean dick massage. From Scotland.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Who slipped into your DMs, Rhys?
Matt Cormack.
Yeah, Matt Cormack as well.
Oh, awkward.
Oh.
Wow.
He wants a bit
This
of
is
brother on brother
Shakespearean
action.
shit.
Bromance.
This is-
I am at the Flying Gibson on the ones.
Of course, you can always support the show, join the show by jumping onto patreon.com/getintogate. And not only do you get everything that we throw out in this podcast, and you're welcome, believe me, but some extra content both from in the studio, outside of the studio, behind the scenes sort of stuff. So jump onto patreon.com/getintogate. And a big shout out to our patrons, old and new, as we continue to welcome you into the family that is
Yes,
Get Into Gate.
we added in some of the bleep stuff from a couple of weeks ago, and our Patreons realised they're like, "That's probably good that you bleeped that."
Yeah, see, I've been telling people this. Everyone's like, nah, you should put it up as like a special podcast. I'm like, you don't understand why I cut it.
yeah,
Now you do.
Yeah. So uncensored stuff on Patreon.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are we going to shout out to our new patrons?
That's a good idea, actually. We should do that because we do have a few new extra patrons. We've got familiar name Sarah Bell.
Hey.
Oi.
She's dropped the Rebecca. It's cleaner. Sarah Bell. I like it.
It's cleaner.
Maddie approves,
Yeah,
Sarah.
'cause
If
you-
you
I kind of stumble on the R's back to back. Or
Sarah Rebecca Bell.
Rebecca Bell.
Oh, see, I
Oh, there's an AH on the end.
Yeah, but it's silent.
Sar Rebecca.
When you're Australian, you kind of mumble two words together.
Oh, it's all one word, yeah.
Really good.
Go,
one.
mate,
And
you going?
I stuffed up when I texted you guys to say that she jumped onto our Patreon, and I said Rebecca Bell's jumped on our Patreon. I dropped the Sarah, which made no sense whatsoever.
The Sarah's silent, mate.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Brennan.
Sarah's silent. Not from what I've heard.
Oh, Jesus.
I also want to welcome.
That's going to be cut, obviously.
Well, she might appreciate it.
That is epic. Oh, fuck. So good. I should have what I heard.
Damn, I should have done that. I should have got low pitch to do that one. We also want to welcome Tom Byron to our Patreon. He's Schlonger Dragon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Schlong
bet
Dragon.
he is.
Yeah. Another familiar name, Colby Latham.
Oh, yeah, Colby.
I was about to send him a welcome message to Patreon, and then I realised he'd already slipped into our DMs and was asking you guys to put in the box of shame. He wants to know when I masturbate to Star Trek.
Yeah. And
Oh,
I
that's-
said,
It's every day,
and I
Colby.
said,
not a thing.
strangely, when Neelix is on the screen.
Trust me, it is not a sexy show. It is.
I don't
not
know.
a
Well,
sexy
in
show.
saying that, I still wish you wouldn't do it
Stop
during
you
the
there.
podcast.
Yeah.
Look, we've had your Star Trek action figures, and we made it pretty sexual.
Oh, there was some action there. That's the
Yeah.
sexiest Star Trek has ever been.
Actually, that's going to go on Patreon soon, so
Isn't it already up?
not the
There's a-
real good one.
Oh,
There's a feature
there's
film.
another one. Wow.
I've
Okay.
reenacted the scene that you shared with us. So.
Wow.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, right. And the last one is
bleeped it.
now I want to be very, very careful pronouncing this last name. It's Nicholas Menapace.
No, you've murdered
Butchered it.
Absolutely murdered it.
Menapace. Menapace.
Mena.
Pace.
PAC. Pace.
Menapace, yeah.
I just didn't want to say menopause. That's all.
Could be Manipaki.
Manipaki.
Manny
Manny
Pacquiao.
Pacquiao.
Manipacquiao.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Pack a
You
wow
can pack
punch.
a wow.
Let's make this episode go even longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's.
They'll love it.
Let's go.
Let's do
3-hour
mailbag now.
podcast. 3-hour podcast.
All right, so big thanks to our new patrons. Outside of Get Into Geek, you can check out our other podcast, Get Into Geek. We're talking about movies and TV, all that sort of stuff. Big thanks to actually everyone, the Get Into Gate sort of family, jumping on to listen to our Avengers reviews a couple of weeks ago. Right now, though, we have reviews up for Deadpool 2, which is out in cinemas as of this weekend. And coming out next week, and we've managed to get to the premiere, Solo, A Star Wars Story. So it's been a big couple of weeks for movies, so Get Into Geek. You can search for the podcast there and check us talk about stuff that isn't Stargate.
And they were both insert reaction here.
All right, we'll catch you back next week for episode 74 of Get Into Gate. We're going to be talking the first ones. Catch you then.
GetIntoGeek.com